Okay, so hello everybody. We continue our conference with the next section on the use of beehive products against pathogenic microorganisms. So it will be a presentation on beehive air and its antimicrobial properties and many others. And then it will be a presentation from Dr. Nataša Rajić from Serbia. And afterward, of course, you can put the questions or comments, you can write us emails, and you can also download the videos, the presentation from Facebook or later from YouTube. And you please feel free to contact all our speakers and start a very good international cooperation. Okay, so I'll start with my presentation on beehive air therapy. Okay, let me close this one here. And then let's do this one. Okay. So the presentation was made by Tiago Guardia. He's a scientist from Brazil who went to Canada. He's studying and working now in Canada, in Toronto. And he made just all this work, and we cooperated a bit, but basically he was doing like 99% of the paper. So I'm presenting his paper, and a few images about this method. It's a method which started in 1987 in Austria. It was the idea from a family Hüttner, and they made a device to extract the air from the beehive and then to use it to the patients. And then in 1989, they started in the practice, and then it went to Germany and to many other countries. So basically, we are getting the volatiles from the bee products. And you see here some of the composition of the beehive products. And one part of this beehive products is the volatile part, these very light molecules. But of course, we can use the bee products to improve the immune system and to improve the nutrition of the body. So when you give beehive air therapy, you always give to the patient the other bee products to take orally through the mouth, and you use through other ways. And here you see classes of substances which are volatile compounds, volatile families in beeswax, in propolis, in honey, in pollen, royal jelly, venom. Practically every bee product has some volatiles in it. So if it is a fresh bee product, it has more volatiles than an old one, of course. And it was interesting. It was made a study in Germany. They wanted to see from what products comes most of the volatiles in the beehive air. And most of the volatiles in quantity came from propolis and from beeswax. So there are researches which are published in the internet, in various databases like this one here. And we saw also Professor Mamdouh Abdurrahman in the previous section. Inhalation of honey, it's a wonderful healing method. It's used for a long time. Also, propolis can be inhaled for the same purposes. And basically, the beehive air, it's a kind of inhalation of honey and propolis and other bee products at beehive temperature or at room temperature, if you want, in a smaller concentration, like in this kind of inhalations, but also effective. Okay, so here you see some bibliographic references about the use of beehive air. And here was a very interesting one done in Egypt. And I'll show you a bit later a photo of this. Here is about the methodology, how to analyze, how to characterize the chemical compounds of beehive air. So you need special devices. And the experts in the analysis of the air, like air pollutants, these guys which are measuring in the cities if there are too much pollutants or not, they have the devices. They know how to do it. So practically you connect such devices to a beehive, and then you take the air and then you analyze it into laboratory. Okay. And here is a list of, from this study from Tiago Guardia in Brazil. They made a list of the most likely volatile substances they separate from the beehive, and you see here. And by the way, you can study this PowerPoint also later, because as I told you, you can download it from Facebook or you can ask us by email to give you directly this presentation. Okay, so here in this study from Brazil, they found 44 volatile compounds in beehive air. Okay, and this is again a table with such substances. You can read here acetic acid, octanol, hexanol, dodecanoic acid, geranic acid, which is a known one, and so on and so on and so on. Eugenol, it's a very powerful one. Eugenol is also antibacterial. And here is a fantastic synergy kind of synthesis made in Egypt. They analyzed the beehive air also, the action against bacteria, pathogenic bacteria. So before this study, we thought that beehive air is very good because it's opening the bronchi, it's a bit bronchodilatory. It is good for the nose to desensitize against the pollen allergy and so on. But we didn't think that beehive air can be also antibacterial. And you can see here in this image that indeed beehive air can also block the bacteria. And this is extraordinary. This may explain why the beekeepers have a longer longevity. Of course, there are many reasons why the beekeepers live longer than the rest of the population, but this may be one of them. If you inhale the beehive air, you have a better protection against the pathogenic microorganisms. Here is just from the literature, this kind of volatile components, what they are doing in pharmacologically speaking, like antifungal, antiviral, and so on and so on. And you see here is a continuation of this such substances, like this linalool, which is one major antimicrobial ingredient of lavender essential oils. So, of course, if you have your beehives surrounded by a garden with many aromatic plants like lavender, you'll get more of these components. Okay, beta-caryophyllene, and so on. So this was a short presentation from Tiago, and you have here his email address, tiago@pranahive.com. Pranahive.com is pranahivehome.com. You can find him also on internet, and feel free to send us any questions you might have on this topic. Okay, very good. I suggest we continue with the next presentation with Nataša because she's already ready, and the people which are here in the group, they may put the questions in the chat room, and then we can make the small discussion after Nataša's presentation. Very good. Now,
just a moment.
That one, yes.
Share. Many.
Okay. So, Nataša, if you agree, I can do the presentation from my computer.
Okay.
Then you comment, you say next.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, okay, wait a second.
I don't know why it's...
Yeah, it's no problem. It happens also yesterday, it happened many times. Maybe some problems with the internet. So let me find first your presentation and then to open it, and then we'll do it from here. Okay, so give me a second. Serbia and Antimicrobial. And before we start the conference, Nataša, please present yourself.
Thank you very much. Because I'm new in the group, I say hello to you and to all participants from me and my college. I'm veterinarian microbiologist. I'm working at Aldahra Ecolab as food microbiologist. I am PhD and the topic of my interest is milk and bovine mastitis.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nataša, for presenting yourself. And then let's go to the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. I will show our result, and this will be a short presentation. Topic is antimicrobial effects of propolis on methicillin resistant and sensitive isolates from subclinical bovine mastitis. This is a pilot project. We start with that. Please, next slide. Staphylococcus are the biggest problem in the dairy for many years, and as the National Mastitis Council says, it couldn't be eradicated from the herds, but it only keep on control by the good dairy management. The Staphylococcus, especially coagulase positive Staphylococcus, are very interesting both on human and veterinary medicine because they could infect the animal and people too, but they are also food pathogens. In the point of view of dairy, they have some specific of their actions. Please, next slide. The picture is well known in our topics. Mastitis is a hidden problem because that is a problem. 1 to 5% of all mastitis animals show visible signs on inflammation on other or animal. And also there are changes in milk. They're abnormal with clumps and clots. But 19 to 95% of illness animal other appears normal. There are no signs of illness on animal, and milk is not changed. That is problem because the animal are ill, their risk, and that is the place of, for losses in dairy. Also, we have a big problem, especially in herd with the high number of ill animals, is the number of latent infected animals, where the udder and the milk is without changes, but they excrete pathogens. They are reservoir pathogens for the other animals, for the people who work with it, and for environment. Please, next slide. Was the causative agents, mostly gram-positive microorganisms, especially in developing countries and the farms with good practice. 80% of them belongs to Staphylococcus, especially coagulase positive and coagulase negative Staphylococcus. The data all around the world is 11 to all herds are infected by Staphylococcus aureus and other coagulase positive Staphylococci. Problem with that is which they have very strong tropism to other tissue. And when they enter in the udder and connect with the tissue, they could live very, very long. Except Staphylococci, there are other gram-positive microorganisms, Streptococci, Micrococci, Corynebacterium. Gram-negative microorganisms are rarely in developing countries. They are often in dairy farms with bad hygiene in the poorest countries. Next, please. What is the risk of bovine mastitis in dairy production? In the first place is reducing milk production. on all the financial losses. It leads to financial losses, and more than 85% of all losses is by reducing milk production. Then there are contagiosis, coagulase positive Staphylococcus aureus and Streptococcus agalactiae are contagious for animals, and their by regulation is for eradication. They are zoonotic, especially Staphylococcus aureus. Then they could be search of resistant genes for animals, other animals, and dispersed to in the environment. And during the lactation, they enter in food chain, milk and milk products, and it's belong to, and it could be a public health risk. Next, please. There, the lot coagulase positive staphylococcus shows the lot of mechanisms which they are invited and preserve in the tissue. The catalase, producing catalase, they could serve in the neutrophils and also in lactocyte pigment, especially on carotenoids. Is very necessary for them for the stress. Coagulase, especially intracellular parasitism, they could live in neutrophils, but also it could live in mastitic, in milk cells, and persistent for long times. They produce a long number of lot of attachment proteins, which they are connecting with the tissue. Biofilms is very often in coagulase positive Staphylococcus mastitis, which they cause mastitis. Hemolysis ulcers. They shows high resistance on antimicrobials. They could potentially possible medicinal resistances, and they could excrete enterotoxin also in the tissue. And enterotoxins are also virulence factor for them in during the mastitis, and keep them in the cells. Next, please. It's a special problem during the treatment of lactation in animals. Only 30% milking animals are cured, could be cured. Why? The most used antimicrobials in therapy are beta-lactams. A lot of strains produced beta-lactamase and inactivated it. In considering of intensive milk production, the treatment could lack because insufficient time to exposure antimicrobials and L forms of staphylococcus. They invade tissue, and they in the case of intensive dairy production, they intensive excrete milk, and the concentration of antimicrobials rapidly low. They could survive for long times in or sometimes in L forms, and when concentration of antimicrobial lows down, they remove their cell walls. This is a reason for recidives. This leads to chronic infection also, especially to older animals. Next slide, please. This is a table with all data, but this collection in, I think, in Europe. Resistance to antibiotics are less than in human, but we can see the rising of resistance. And in the 1998 was 7% to ampicillin. In 2000 is to 49, almost 40. Next, please. This is some of our results of our investigation. We found when we was tested to antibiogram coagulase positive staphylococcus isolated from other infected with subclinical mastitis. We found more than 62 resistant isolates. But when we tested on oxy-test for methicillin resistance, we found 7 isolates who was resistant to oxacillin 1 microgram, but there is no result. There is no resist on cefoxitin 30 milligrams. When we tested on the presence of MEC again, we didn't find any isolate genetically methicillin resistant. Next, please. This is first result when we, during regular work, we randomly select some isolate of Staphylococcus aureus. Left picture is blue is penicillin. This is streptomycin, amoxicillin, cloxacillin, and gentamicin. This isolate was resistant for penicillin, but good sensitivity to all others. The same isolates on Propolis show very good results, very good antimicrobial results. That right picture present penicillin resistant, oxacillin sensitive, and very good action of Propolis for these isolates. Left down, we have penicillin, oxacillin, Propolis also, and right down different concentration for this isolate on different concentration of Propolis of this isolate. Please, next. The aim of this work is to determine if the Propolis extract has inhibitory effect on antimicrobial resistant staphylococcus. This is for our laboratory pictures. This is typical Staphylococcus aureus, bovine Staphylococcus aureus. Next slide, please. Materials and methods. We selected 46 coagulase positive Staphylococcus. Isolated from bovine milk samples with sign of subclinical mastitis and tested for detection of MECR gene by a microdilution method on cefoxitin. We used microdilution method cefoxitin and MIC 8 microgram per milliliter cefoxitin was break point for methicillin resistance for all isolates. Of all isolates, 26 isolates were resistant on that doses or that concentration of cefoxitin, and we marked them as methicillin resistant isolates, and 20 isolates show susceptibility on this concentration of cefoxitin, and we marked them methicillin susceptibility Staphylococcus aureus, coagulase positive Staphylococcus. Our earliest results shows more or less we didn't found any suspect isolate on methicillin resistant, or now we find 56 more than 56% of methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus. We selected 8 methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus and 3 sensitive to determine to select it to antimicrobial testing to 24 and 10% ethanol propolis by microdilution method. It was propolis from commercial prepared. Next, please. This is our plates. Next, please. Results. On 3 isolates, which we determined as methicillin sensitive, all possess gold pigment, and breakpoint for maximal point of propolis extract was 0.031. Minimal was 0.002. One isolate or 2 isolates were the same MIC for 24 and 10% propolis extract. First isolate show lower MIC value on 25 propolis MIC than 10 propolis MIC. Methicillin resident coagulase positive staphylococci, they all possess gold pigment. Most of them have beta hemolysis. Minimal value was 0.002 for beta hemolysis light gold, and we have isolates which have the same MIC when we tested with 25 propolis and 10 propolis concentration. We also have isolates which are has high MIC value on 10 propolis than on 25 propolis. Please, next. There was no correlation between cefoxitin and propolis susceptibility. We we heard yesterday that propolis have a lot of organic substance, and they have difference of mode of action, antimicrobial mode of action. And we could say that propolis is a mix of antimicrobials, and I suppose that propolis, that the bacteria couldn't have all of this mechanism to survive in the propolis. Propolis was effective in very low concentration against both methicillin sensitive and methicillin resistant isolates. And the question is, could propolis be an effective in eradication staphylococci from bovine mastitis pathogens, or keep it under control? And we will be continued to this project by the biofilms that to see does biofilm positive or biofilm negative isolates have difference between their sensitivity to propolis. Next, please. Thank you for your attention. Great from Belgrade. And I wish to thank you my first mentor, Dr. Milanka Erski-Biljic. She gave me this idea, and I am thankful for her. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation, Dr. Nataša Rajić. Yes, it is a big problem, and if we think that there are how many millions cows in
Yes.
Europe or all over the world, it's huge problem, and this can be a very good solution. Yes.
Yes, I suppose it will be lead to cure.
Yes.
To find the method for cure.
Yes. Okay. Now we have a question or a comment from Vanya from Kenya. Please, Vanya.
Yes, thank you. Yes,
So,
thank you. Yeah,
please,
it is
please.
from Kenya or from Africa is Wanja.
Wanja. Okay,
I
thank
know
you. I
in
wanted
Europe
to ask you, how do you pronounce
Yes.
your name? Hello.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you very much for that interesting presentation. I just wanted to find out if you are, I know it's a preliminary research, but eventually,
Yes,
how
we
would
start with
we,
this project.
yes, how would we inject or treat live animals? Say if the laboratory works as we have seen, what would be the best way to treat a cow? Is it injection? Is it, yeah.
No,
Local-
intermammary suspension.
It's applied locally on the udder. Yes.
Locally.
Yes. So
Okay,
in
so
Basic principle to treat the cows is the locally.
so you just
and in
wash
some case, combination locally and parenteral.
parenteral, like injections.
Yes, I
Okay.
think so, because if the cow possibly has low infection and it's already in the body, washing the udder would not help. So you need, I mean, it may reduce, but you need to make sure that the animal inside is clean. So I think there has to be some form of injection. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yes, it's a good concept, the idea from Wanja, it's to take internally, but for a cow, which has how many hundreds of kilograms, you need huge amounts of propolis. Yeah.
No, there is no need.
No need. So topical application would be okay.
Topical with some prepared who will go upstairs in the udder.
Okay. Yes.
The reason for my question is that, excuse me, is that some of these, especially propolis and others, the question would be, would they work against multicellular organisms like say Plasmodium or, mosquito, and things like trypanosomiasis in human beings, So that's the reason why I was asking if somebody, how would it work in human who are infected with some other organisms inside the body? Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is not only to you. I would like to hear also from people from Egypt and who are in human medicine. Because the question is, can propolis or hive products be taken to a higher level to overcome some of these multicellular organisms that are very common in Africa?
Wanja, I do not understand your questions. Can you
So
repeat
do
in
I.
other words?
Okay, now I was trying to find out, other than microorganisms like bacteria, fungus, and things like that.
Yes.
Can propolis be used to treat multicellular organisms that infect either animals or humans?
You mean
For
parasites?
Example,
Like parasites.
For example, malaria, trypanosomiasis, such things. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to ask. Or even gut. What are they called? Helminths. Helminths.
Helminths.
Yes.
I have no data for that.
Okay. We have there is, if you look in internet, also you ask many parasitologists. There are studies, research on the use of bee products against Giardia lamblia, against malaria, against Chagas in South America, so which is also a parasite, against rickettsiosis, also in cases of HIV. So also honey can be used preventative against the helminths, because honey makes a better digestive transit. So the eggs of the parasites are easier removed than other kind of a diet which is more sticky. So there are several such applications, Wanja, like bee products against parasites, and I will present some of them in my presentation after the lunch.
Thank you very much. Very good presentations, Asante.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Wanja. Other comments or questions related to these presentations? On the beehive air, no question for beehive air. Yes, I see also among us Professor James Hutagalung from Indonesia. He organized several conferences on apitherapy there, and maybe it is one idea. We can organize, or better said, you can organize your own national Api-Microbiology conferences with international participation. So it can be, for example, the first Serbian conference on Api-Microbiology with international participation. And of course, we'll come and we'll support you, we'll help you. Like we can do the first Indonesian conference on Api-Microbiology and so on and so on. Okay, so I see that there are no questions or comments more for this part of the...
Stefan?
Yes?
I was wondering whether if a beehive air, if we can purchase a system from overseas. I'm in Australia, to try and use it for personal use here, or do we need to come up with our own invention, I guess?
What do you mean? If you have the device, the method, then you can use it.
No, so we don't have, in Australia, we don't have them to purchase here. To have, like I have my own hives, but to have one of the, like a proper system that you can retrieve the air from the beehive without just, going into the hive as a AP therapist yourself. If I wanted to administer it to my children, for example, are there systems we can purchase overseas to do that?
Yes, Emily, I will share the screen for you.
Thank you.
Come back here. And I'll present you, because we organize several conferences on behavior therapy in English, in Spanish, in Romanian, with many wonderful speakers. And the best is to go to YouTube. I'll show you after. Remember me to. There is a playlist with 23 conferences on behavior therapy. It's free of charge. But let me first share the screen to show you this device. The best device is now made in Germany, and it's called the Bicura system.
Okay.
And as far as I know from my friends, they are already in the Australian Apitherapy Association. There are contacts with the German company to get the system in Australia. So it's a device, it's accepted and it's licensed in Germany as a medical device. It's top. It's a bit expensive, but you get all the money back in maximum 1-2 months by treating the patients having all kind of diseases in the lungs, rhinitis, allergies, and so on and so on. So it's you can find also here in this bicurasystem.de, and you have also the English option here, and you find videos. And then I have two advices for you. One is, if you have two options, to work alone or to work with local doctors or local naturopathic doctors. If you work alone, you may have some legal problems, because sooner or later you'll tell we can heal asthma or bronchitis and so on. then doctors will jump on you and say you are not a doctor. How? Of course. Yes. So the trick here is, if really you are very isolated and you cannot work with the local health practitioners, you will say that you are offering aerosols from the beehive air. And it's kind of a spa, it's an Api spa, and you do not make any claims like you heal this and this disease. No, okay. That's wonderful. Yes, humble, but much better. It's like 1,000 times better that you speak with the local health practitioners, with some doctors. You'll find for sure some doctors in your area who are open-minded people who are practicing, for example, acupuncture, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, or
Yes.
herbalists. And then you invite them to your place. You should make like a apiary with this system, like a bee house. And then you make a contract with these doctors, and they will protect you against legal issues because the treatment will be done according to their coordination. So, so they basically see the patient at the beginning. They say, okay, this patient has exactly this diagnosis, and this patient needs 6 sessions, 10 sessions, or 20 sessions. And then after these 20 sessions, which you'll offer in your bee house, they come back to the doctor. The doctor assess again the patient. And this is wonderful. It's perfect because they can get also data, clinical data, and they will have more and more confidence in this method.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
And let me show you. Yes, let me show you in YouTube. You can write down about this playlist. And we put it several months ago. So you just go to Stefan Stângaciu. You search in internet in YouTube, Stefan Stângaciu. And then we have here, you see here playlists.
Yes.
Playlists, and then you go and you see here beehive air therapy. So here is the whole playlist with all these conferences. It's like gold,
yes.
gold
liquid
kind of information, gold liquid, yes, or volatile now gold. Yes, and you have presentations from Spain, from Samuel Ramal, from UK, from Romania, many different countries, Slovenia, and it's just wonderful. Just go to this presentation from Niraldo Paulino, from Brazil, and then you can contact the authors because in each presentation you have the contact address, email, and so on of the speaker.
Yes. That is wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Stefan. I really appreciate it.
Okay, I hope you are happy.
I am. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. Okay, so let's see here in the chat. Okay. Okay, here in the chat, against malaria, there are also medicinal plants like Artemisia annua, combination with propolis. Of course, when you combine bee products with medicinal plants, you get better effect. But even bee venom can be used, bee stings therapy against malaria, but propolis is the best. Okay, very good. Okay, good. I see no other questions. If there is no other question, let's take the lunch break. And let me check here again in the program. We have the lunch break until 2:30. It's Romanian time, Bucharest time. Yes, and then we'll continue with the next presentation. So we'll close the platform to have recorded the conference in Zoom, and then please come back at 2:30, 14:30.
Can I request? Now it's that will be like 1.5 hours. Can't we get 1 hour? Why not 1 hour so that we can finish earlier?
No, because we have one speaker, Wanja from Canada.
Okay,
from Vancouver. Yes, and for him it will be like 5:30 in the morning, very early. So if you finish earlier, it will be like 4, and he will kill us.
Thank you very much, Asante.
Okay.
Right. Have a nice lunch.
Okay, you too. See you at 2:30. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.